Hey, welcome to the jungle. It's Average Drew Movie Review, and this time we're talking Jumanji. Alright, so Jumanji, this is a brand new adventure of Jumanji. I was really concerned that this was going to be a remake. If that was your concern, I know they've come out and said it's not. Let me assure you, it is not a remake. It is more of a sequel. And so it's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. Let's get into this here. Sony Pictures put it, and quote, in a brand new Jumanji adventure, 4 high school kids discover an old video game console and are drawn into the game's jungle setting, literally becoming the adult avatars they chose. What they discover is that you don't just play Jumanji, you must survive it. To beat the game and return to the real world, they'll have to go on the most dangerous adventure of their lives. Discover what Alan Parrish left 20 years ago and change the way they think about themselves. Or they'll be stuck in the game forever to be played by others without break. Okay, it's rated PG-13. It is kid-friendly. It's one of those rated PG-13s mainly for the action. There's really not even a lot of language or anything in this. I took Gabby and Josh, my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old. Both loved it, thought it was great, had a great time. I don't regret it at all. I don't know that I would bring maybe a 3-year-old into it, but really, 7+, not a problem. Not a problem. This is directed by Jake Kasdan, who also did Bad Teacher and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, so it has kind of a fun feel to it, and it is an enjoyable film, with a delightful cast of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. Okay, as far as the movie goes, it's entertaining. It is very entertaining. I give it a 4 stars. Awesome for that. Overall rating, I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars, and we'll get into that in just a second. Okay, into the spoilers here. Like in the write-up, you have 4 teenagers that get sucked into a video game. Okay, the board game itself was no longer interesting to kids, and a guy found it on a beach, looked at it, opened it, board games, who plays board games? Shut it, threw it aside. The game changed and turned itself into a video game. Kid plugged it in, got sucked into the game, fast forward, I think 20 years later, something like that. And all of a sudden, bam, now you're in here. So 4 teenagers who are all in detention for completely different reasons. They go into the backstories, which is actually important. I have to throw that out there. I was impressed that they did actually go into showing each character's personality beforehand and why they were there. It's a little bit of a teeny bopper movie, but it was still really enjoyable. You get 4 teenagers stuck in detention. They find the game, the game console in the game while they're cleaning out this storage room, and they plug it in. Then they get sucked into the game. Well, who hasn't played WoW at this point, right? They get sucked into the game using a cartridge-based console system that had a load screen, which is really funny to me because console games don't have load screens, but it's still fun. The good in this movie is it's not a remake. Thank you, Jesus. It's not a remake. Oh, I was so worried about that. They do pay homage, even in that write-up they talk about it, but they do pay homage to Robin Williams' character in this. So if you're worried about going and seeing this one because you're afraid it's going to completely take away from the past, it doesn't. You're good. Good to go. It's really enjoyable too. The acting is phenomenal. To watch Jack Black and Kevin Hart spoof off of each other, and Dwayne Johnson does a pretty good job, but you know, I don't know. He was the main character in this, but he wasn't the main character in this to me. I thought he was okay. Karen Gillan was hilarious though. She played her part really well, incredibly awkward, which made it even better. It was great. The pacing of the film was spot on. You never got bored. You didn't feel like they were rushing it. I mean, they maybe could have taken a little extra time to gone into some more detail, but really it didn't feel rushed. You enjoyed the pace. You enjoyed yourself the whole time. Never felt like it was being dragged out or anything. It was really nice. The humor in this is fantastic. It's absolutely hilarious. Laughed the whole way through it. Thought it was a great time. The kids laughed, even though they didn't get half the jokes. They laughed and thought it was really good. The action in it is also really good. You got The Rock in this. The action's going to be pretty good, and it is. The bad in this movie is that it is definitely a teen movie, which isn't necessarily bad. It just is what it is, and you need to know it up front. You know what you're getting into. It is a teen movie. It is also not scary in any way, shape, or form. And I mean that. It is not scary. The original, I thought, had some good scare moments. There were some crazy creatures that happened, things popping out, completely unexpected. There were some good little jumps and going, ooh, you get into the movie, you get intense. You're like, I don't want this to happen. No, no, no. It doesn't happen in this. It's a totally different feel, totally different vibe. This is definitely a comedy, which the first one also was, but this is really a comedy, and there's no scary or intense things in this whatsoever. Also, on the humor, it's almost too much humor for me. Again, because I expected it to be a little bit more like the original, and it's not. It's a totally separate piece, but they do pay homage back in it. That's why I said in the beginning of this, it's almost a sequel. It's done like a sequel, but it's a completely different type of film, and so it's hard to say it's a sequel. It's like watching Gremlins and then watching Gremlins 2. Totally different pieces. Same type of people, totally different atmosphere. The NPCs, or the non-player characters, were either very cool or very distracting. There was zero in between on this. There were a couple times where they would repeat their lines because they're only programmed with so much. It's kind of interesting. At certain points, it just got old. And other times, they seemed to not be programmed with dialogue, and so they just spoke regularly. And it was really weird. It's like they were a real person, but they weren't a real person. They couldn't put their minds together on which one was which on that. So it was a little awkward there, but it was still good. The quests or the levels in this movie, because again, it's a video game. It's based on a video game. So there's quests, there's levels, you're moving through, you're progressing. They really didn't feel like a game. They didn't feel like anything at all. They just felt like, we're going to slap this together. You're supposed to do this really fast. And it just was blah. They just threw it out there. They were relying almost solely on the humor and on the actors to pull it together and pull it through, which was okay. I'm also going to say, on that same note, Dwayne's character did not help this at all. He was supposed to be the great gamer. He was supposed to be the nerd. You know, they've got their jock, they've got their nerd, they've got their, well, for lack of a better term, they've got their ditzy hot girl, and then they've got their loner chick that, you know, discovers herself. It works really well. The characters play very well together. It's very Breakfast Clubby, and their development together was really cool. In fact, it is very Breakfast Club. It's Breakfast Club in a video game, but it's still enjoyable. But Dwayne's character is a gamer, and he does not help the situation in this. There's like one time that he actually says something like, oh, this is a video game, which means this. Well, they opened it up with him being this great gamer, and he turns out to be a total gomer. He's a noob, and it just doesn't work. So the quests and levels just don't feel like a video game. It's like, oh, let's call it a video game, and shouldn't we bring a gamer on board to help us design this video game? Nah, we got it. We're good. We don't have money for that. But overall, it's a really fun, really funny, very entertaining movie. I do wish it could have had some more scares, and also have some of the plants and animals and some of the things that were really big in the first one, like the creeping vines, the plants that were trying to eat people, maybe the monkeys, maybe have one of the characters start to turn into something, you know, have something else going on with this. They didn't have any of that. In fact, I don't remember any of the plants or anything that happened in the first showing up in this at all. The homage to Robin Williams was very small. It was kind of an Easter egg, but it really wasn't because they even talk about it. But it was still there, which was great to see if you're paying attention. All right, well, that's it for this one. It's an enjoyable film for you and for the family. Go ahead and take the kids if you have kids. If not, take a date. It's enjoyable. You'll laugh. You'll have a great time. All right, well, get out there and go watch another movie, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the review, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. You know how, and you know you want to. Also, if you'd like to support the show, I'd love it. Head on over to patreon.com/averagedrew. That's how I'm able to put out more and more reviews just like this one. Now go on out there, watch a movie.